Good evening, welcome to Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I'm back on my my talk about music. Right now, the thing about music is it does make the world go round. It makes ordinary actors seem great, because if there's fabulous music behind their acting, they don't have to act so good, and their $50,000 smiles will be enhanced by some $20,000 arranger who does his magic on the movie and gets a particular kind of emotion there. So emotions are easily aroused by music, and you don't have to know anything about music, but it actually does help if you know a little about how it is performed and constructed. Now, Bach was the famous composer who was very technical in his writing. Bach reputedly wrote a piece that was so mathematically, technically perfect that you could actually take it and turn it around and play it backwards and it would sound exactly the same. Pretty brilliant. They found that if they played Mozart to children before they went to school, didn't have to insist that they sit there and listen to it, but if they played, the child somehow got more intelligent. It made different parts of the mind. I'm a great believer in it's not the brain, it's the mind, and it made different parts of the mind come alive. So, how do they do it? First of all, this is a bum's rush through some of the technical things that a musician needs to know in order to be able to sound great, to sound like himself. So, when you first start, what you should really be doing is looking at scales. Now, I know that if you are a guitarist, you probably have bypassed all of this about scales, but scales for any great player will be a daily routine. And scales, quickly, this is a major scale. You do that, and then you can do all kinds of other things with it. And more. Are all dependent on scales. But what else are there? Well, there's other little things which classical musicians all learn, and they are Italian terms are usually in the straight music world. That's not in the non-gay world, okay, but straight in that they are players of a classical genre, okay, or style. Not genre, of classical style. So they're classical players playing classical music, and they need to know all of those little things like trills, going from the note to the note above and back. You will have heard that. All of these things that I'm saying, it's not like blinding revelations. You will have recognized all of these things, but you may not have, you may have, in which case you've already turned off anyway, so you didn't even hear me say that. But you will know that they are there. Now, so there's what's a simple trill. There's that. There's others, I forget which is which now, but there are acciacciuras, acciacciacciuras, appoggiaturas, and there are all kinds of things that need to be played. Do da do do dee, do dee da do do dee. They're all little what I call fiddly bits. You would know them as fiddly bits. You don't need to know that they are aki-aki achuras or apoggi achuras or anything else achuras. You can know them as fiddly bits. Now, how do you use them? How you use them means a huge difference between one person and another playing the same tune and on a different instrument, different people, same tune in their own style. And everybody, no matter what you do, you have style. You have a certain style. If you're a writer, you have a certain style. If you dress nicely, you will dress in a certain style. Unless, of course, you are someone who is a blind follower of fashion, in which case you'll look like any one of those fashion models who is wearing what you are wearing. And if you do that, you will still have your own style. When you talk, you have your own kind of way of talking. You'll have your own way of deciding how you present a certain context, a certain way of describing something or other. So a concept is the word that I'm looking for. Sometimes I fail on recalling some of my own vocabulary, but you're describing a concept, then you'll have your own way of doing it. Some people use anecdotes, other people are very clinical, but they all have their own style, and music is exactly the same thing. Now, when a jazz musician is talking to another jazz musician, there are people, by the way, who have become famous for this, but they use what's called scat singing. And scat singing is saying the words, saying a tune, describing a tune, singing a tune in a way that is your own, or you can sing without words. You can sing a tune exactly as it is. But if it's not with the words, but you're still singing it, then the chances are that you're using some form of scat singing. Well, if you ever heard the great Ella Fitzgerald was an incredible scat singer. And Louis Armstrong, maybe I'm obviously showing my age here, Louis Armstrong, because you don't get young pop singers certainly don't use scat. Maybe I'm wrong on that, okay, so don't quote me. Please don't bury me in an avalanche of comments on that. But anyway, Mel Torme, people like Frank Sinatra didn't do scat because they were not jazz singers, okay? The nearest that he ever came was Strangers in the Night, when he went dooby dooby doo, be dooby doo doo dooby dooby doo. Not very scatty, was it? Well, anyway, but people like Ella Fitzgerald and Mel Torme were absolute masters of scat. So why am I saying this? Well, because as a musician, mostly now I sing my songs without words. So let's loosely describe what I sing as scat. People like Mel Torme had their own, they had their own vocabulary of sounds, like dooby dooby doo dooby dooby doo dooby doo 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 dooby doo 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 doo. They'd have their own way of actually singing a tune. Well, how do you fit all of this? I wanted to, with all of the fiddly bits. I'm looking down at my notes here because I didn't want to do it. Right, so we looked at the idea of scales. Right, scales. And then the fiddle bits. Ba diddle dee dee da, ba ya. All of these fiddly bits, how do we fit them all in? Well, if you're going to sing a cappella, one thing that you definitely need is you need an inner metronome that is finely attuned to timing. And one of the easiest ways to test your inner metronome is to start a tune up on your CD player, and would have to be a tune that you really know very well, and you sing along with the CD, and the CD has gone along for a few bars, and then you turn the volume right down on the CD, but you keep playing, and you leave that for, well, maybe 2 or 3 bars, and then you turn the volume back up again. And if your voice is still in the same position in the tune as the CD, then your inner metronome is pretty good. So, how do you put all of this together? Well, one of the most infuriating things about being a musician among people who are non-musical, and I'm not saying that from any grand altitude, but it is a fact that if you're trained in a particular way, in a particular area of expertise, then you will be surrounded by people who are not. If someone talks to me about the computer, if they talk to me about the telephone, and they talk to me about gigabytes and megahertz, well, as I said before, a megahertz, as far as I'm concerned, is a really bad headache. A gigabyte, well, that's having too much of one donut in your mouth at the same time. It's not my area of expertise, but when it comes to being able to sing a song, I can do that, and I can play my instrument, which is the trombone. It's my area of expertise. How can I claim any kind of skill at that? Well, I practiced both singing and playing for many, many hours in my life. And some of the great players who are currently out there doing classical and straight, not too many can do both, but if they're out there, they may spend as many as 4 or 5 hours a day maintaining their skill. That's maintaining, that's not growing greater, assuming that they're great players. So why is it infuriating? Because irrespective of whether you're talking to someone who says, oh, my mother played the piano and she only had to hear a tune once and she could play it straight away. Perfect. All the chords and everything. She just had that kind of ear, you know. When somebody makes an assessment of someone else's ability, it's very much attuned to whether they, or not whether they are educated, because everybody's educated about music in some way, even if it's only by the experience of listening to a lot. But when somebody makes a claim like that, usually their ability to attribute a high level of skill to their mother is in proportion, in direct proportion to their own skill at listening. Now, some people will not recognize a tune when it's played to them the second time if they're struck over the head with a saxophone. It just is that kind of way. We are trained in the West, Western music is trained to hear in a scale. Now, in a scale, as I've been singing it to you, in that scale there are half tones and tones. A half tone is the smallest interval that the Western music is attuned to. That's the smallest interval that we can sing and hear. Now, if you go to India, remember when people started at first off at hearing Indian music, and even now a lot of people think, oh, I don't like Indian music because it's so out of tune. It's not out of tune at all, believe me. Indian musicians, singers, instrumentalists are trained to hear and perform a quarter note. That's half. I'm not trying to teach you maths, by the way, but that's half of the smallest interval that we are trained to hear. They can crank it down to half. So when you listen to them, it kind of sounds like they go, that's what you hear. And you hear that because that's what you're trained to hear. If you keep on listening to Indian music, you will begin to hear the quarter tone, but not without a lot of practice. You would have to listen to a lot of music. So let's get back. So what did we do? We looked at scales, we looked at the inner metronome, we looked at singing without words, scat, we looked at, well, the fiddly bits, and how do we show all of those things? Well, one of the things about singing without words and using all the fiddly bits, which is the jazz improvisation, other people don't always hear it because they haven't trained themselves enough by listening to music which is complex enough. If you've only ever listened to music of the standard of, say, Yellow River, yellow river is in my mind, in my do 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 do. It's a very basic, simple tune. Yellow Ribbon. These are very popular, hugely successful songs for the masses of most people who don't spend too much time listening to music. If you are listening to the Planet Suite, if you are listening to Beethoven, if you are listening to Mozart, if you are listening to any one of these great composers, you will be attuned to a more complicated, more challenging way of listening, because you can't listen to Beethoven's Fifth and then at the end of it sing it. But you might have a pretty good chance of singing Tie a Yellow Ribbon, right? So that tells you how complicated that is. Now, the kind of song which is great, you might know this song, you might not. I'll sing it to you and then try to put some of the fiddly bits in. It's a song, I think it's in Hebrew, the Jewish language, Bamir bis Fushain. Bamir bis Fushain, something like that. And I don't know the words, but I'll sing it without words. Do dee do do dee. Do dee do do dee do 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 dee do 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 do. Ba do 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 dee do do dee do dee do do dee dee do 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 do. Do 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 dee do dee do 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 dee do dee dee do do dee do 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 dee do dee do dee do 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 dee do dee dee do do dee do 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 dee do dee do do dee do dee do do dee do 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 dee do 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 do. Now, if you were to put the fiddly bits in on that, if you can possibly remember what I just burbled my way through, you would have these little things where you go ba do dee da do da, boom dee do do dee. This is kind of what it might sound like. Ba-doo-dee da-doo-dee da-doo-dee, ba-doo-dee da-doo-dee, ba-doo-dee da-doo-dee da-doo-doo-doo-doo, ba-doo-dee da-doo-dee da-doo-doo-dee, do-dee da-doo-doo-dee, do-doo-doo-doo-doo, do-doo-doo-doo-doo, do-doo-doo-doo-doo-dee, do-dee-doo-doo-dee, do-dee-dee-doo-doo-doo, do-do-do-do-do-do-dee, ba-do-do-dee-doo-dee-doo-doo-dee, ba-do-dee-doo-doo, ba-do-dee-doo-dee, ba-do-dee-doo-doo-dee, ba-do-dee-doo-doo-dee, ba-do-dee-doo-doo-dee-dee-doo-doo-doo. Now, if I'd sung that to someone who we hadn't had this, perhaps this little preamble, they'd say, "Don't you know the tune? Have you forgotten the words? You don't know the tune. Is that a proper tune, or something you just made up on it?" When I was working with someone once, and I would be singing scat to myself, and he would imitate me. And I would be going ba-do-dee da-do-dee, ba-do-dee da-do-dee da-do-da, ba-do-dee da-do-do-do, and he would go and to his ears it would sound the same. I hope it doesn't sound the same to your ears. So you can see that the way that music is built up is in a very orderly fashion, even though it might seem as if it's all happening in the moment. Does this make any sense to you? Somebody wrote and said, "I just don't understand this video." And he's right, because it's not for everyone. It's only for people who have perhaps questioned the idea of how something is made. How do you make that? How do you work out what you're going to say, musically that is, in any given moment, in any given tune? And your choice, the player, the performer's choice of how he uses scales in all of their forms, archicuras, trills, vibrato. Everybody knows what a vibrato is. That's one of the simplest things. Be, do, dee, do, do, dee. Everybody knows what a trill is. Do. And so everybody gets used to this. Ba, do, da, do, do, dee, dee, dee. All of these things you've all been listening to all your life, and you may not have known that they're all written out and all learned and then used in the same way that you speak. Everybody has a vocabulary, and it varies from one person to another, and their ability to listen to a sentence which has been constructed by another person, their ability to understand what was said is dependent on the size of the vocabulary. So if you don't understand what someone's saying, it may well be that their vocabulary is greater than yours, and that's all. It's not about whether you're dumb, it's not about whether the other guy is too clever. It may just be that he uses a greater, larger vocabulary than you. The same with music. It's the same with music. You see? Hope this sheds some light on the idea of music. And of course, because it is improvised, it's purely dependent on your taste and what you're used to in the music. You might just be sort of forgotten the words again. it would have been so much better if we knew the words. Scat. Without words. Listen to Ella Fitzgerald, listen to Mel Tormé, listen to a ton of people who did this so very, very well. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Bye for now.